Bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle.
Hi, my name is Jordan Harley, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build a fixed gear bike. A fixed gear bike is a bike that has one gear, one speed, and does not allow you to coast. If you watch as I demonstrate, if the back wheel is moving, so are the pedals. No matter what. You can even pedal backwards on a bike like this. First, I'm going to identify for you the individual parts of the frame. Head tube, top tube, seat tube, down tube, seat stay, chain stay, brake bridge, drop out, bottom bracket housing. The main hub of the drivetrain assembly is the bottom bracket. This is a sealed cartridge bearing assembly around which the pedals rotate, and it is located in the bottom bracket housing right here. The remaining components of the drivetrain are the pedal, crank arm, chain ring, chain, the cog, which attaches to the rear wheel, which is made up of the tire, inside of which is the inner tube. These mount onto the rim, which is held to the hub by the spokes, spoke nipples, and this is the hub. Go. The components of the steering assembly are the handlebar, the stem, the top of the headset, the fork tube, which is inside of the head tube, fork bridge, fork blades, and the front wheel. The points of human interface are the brake, handlebar, saddle, and the pedal. It's a coffee break. A good place to start your build-up is by upgrading the bottom bracket. This bike has an old school cup and cone assembly bearing. The tools needed to complete this job are adjustable wrench, lock ring wrench. The first thing that you need to do when removing a cup and cone bearing assembly is remove the lock ring. I'm going to use a lock ring wrench. Engage the tooth into the gear. I'll thread out the cup. Take out the bearings. Sometimes they'll be loose. Take out the spindle. The bearings from the other side. And now take out the right side cup. To do this, just get a wrench that fits the two flat sides. And this is reverse threaded. To install a bottom bracket, you'll need the following tools. Bottom bracket tool, socket wrench. To install the bottom bracket, I've started out by halfway threading in the left side cone, which is standard threads. That'll help to guide the bottom bracket as I put it in the right side, which has reverse threads. So you'll turn it counterclockwise to tighten it. hand thread it in so that you do not flatten any threads. When it gets difficult, switch to your bottom bracket tool and your ratcheting wrench. Now spin it back and tighten the left side cone, which is standard thread. Be careful not to over tighten, because this cup is usually aluminum and this particular housing is also aluminum. And you're done. Next I'll be installing the crank set, which consists of the right side crank arm and the left side crank arm. On the right side I already have installed the chain ring and a chain guard. The tools required for this job are Allen wrench. Go. To install the crank arm, place it onto the spindle of the bottom bracket and thread in the bottom bracket bolt. And tighten. Don't tighten it too much or else you'll have trouble getting it off later. The installation of the right side, the left side is the same. Next I'll be installing the pedals. The pedals are side specific and they are marked with an L and an R for left and right. The left side pedal has backwards threads. The right side pedal has standard threads. The tools needed to install this pedal, simply thread it into the crank arm. Hand thread it first. You don't need to be very aggressive with the tightening, because as you pedal you'll be gradually tightening it more. That's the right pedal. The left pedal is essentially the same, simply reverse threads. Next I'm going to show you how to remove and then install a cog. The tools needed for this are lock ring wrench. In order to remove the cog, first you must remove the lock ring. This is the lock ring. It is reverse threaded. Now I can remove the cog. This can be installed facing either direction. You need not put much pressure on this, because as you pedal you will be tightening it. Now the lock ring back on. It's reverse threaded, so it will be tightening to the left. And you're done. Next I'm going to show you how to install the rear wheel onto the frame. The tools needed for this are open and closed-ended wrench. To install the rear wheel, first you need to ensure that you have a proper amount of washers to equal the spacing of the rear dropouts. Got a good fit here. I've chosen to discard the original nut in favor of a track nut. The track nut is superior because it has an integral washer. It will stay tighter longer, and it reduces the amount of walking when you're tightening. Now I'm going to show you how to install the chain. For this job, you'll need the following tools. Chain tool. To install this chain, I've first broken it apart using a chain tool. And now I'll thread it onto the cog in the chain ring. I've left the back wheel adjusted so that I have some slack to work with. Chain tool pushes the pin back in through both segments of the chain. And you get it about 90% of the way. Put it on the back tooth. So that that link of the chain does not stiffen up. And test it to make sure that it moves freely. If you haven't done it right, that'll be locked into position. That's it. Next, I'm going to show you how to install the forks and the headset. The tools that you'll need for this job are adjustable wrench, Allen wrench. To install the forks, first you need to slip on the bearings for the bottom of the headset. Slip the forks up through. Turns good. Slip the bearings on for the top headset. The retaining cap. Make sure you don't put it on too tight. Want it to move freely still. Okay. A washer with a lock key in it. It fits into the slot. The top nut. All you do is tighten this, making sure that you don't also tighten this. Moves fine. Now you install the stem. This works by pulling this bolt up when you tighten it in here, and it slides that up and holds it in place. So you make sure that that's pushed down, drop down in, find the Allen head in there, turn it, slightly snug, make sure it's straight, tighten it up. That's the front fork assembly. Next, I'm going to show you how to install your handlebars. For this project, you will need the following tools. Allen wrench. I've pre-loosened these with an Allen wrench. And tighten them. Make sure when you're tightening it down that you have an equal gap on the top as you do on the bottom. That's all it is. Next, I'm going to show you how to install the front caliper brake. For this, you'll need the following tool. Allen wrench. To install this caliper, you need to make sure that it is the right type. Some of them take a recessed nut, and some of them take a surface nut. This is a recessed nut, and that is what this requires. That fits right there. And just finish tightening this up with an Allen wrench. And finally, I'm going to show you how to put on the front wheel. For this job, you'll need the following tools. Open and closed-ended wrench. To install the front wheel, you must first make sure that the caliper has been properly adjusted so that you can fit the tire through the gap. Set it in there. Tighten up the nut. Make sure that it's centered. Then finish tightening the nuts with a size 15 wrench.
Bicycle.